Welcome to this January 27th meeting of the Milton Planning Board.
Yes.
We're not going live. Bye.
I'm Alex
Oh,
Whiteside,
okay.
the chairman.
Bernie Lynch, member.
Pete Jackson, member?
Bill Clark, Planning Director.
Diane Colligan, Secretary.
Now, Mr. Clark, you have an announcement to make.
Yes, Mr. Duffy will not be here this evening. He slipped on the ice leaving his house and broke 3 ribs. He's a little uncomfortable. He'll be at the next meeting.
All right, now, are we missing any other members?
Mrs. Innes is on her way. She had to work a little late. She'll be 20, 30 minutes late.
All right. Now, we have 3 sets of minutes. And I have proposed changes in all of them.
3 or 4 sets?
I only have 3. I have December 16th, and I don't have the full meeting of the
November
16th.
18th.
I don't have the 18th. I didn't get the 18th.
Because we did this last time.
All right.
Okay.
But I do have,
The 9th
I have the 9th,
and the 13th.
and a number of things on the 9th. We want to take a look. And the 16th.
That's the executive session of the 16th.
Right, exactly. And that's these are my comments on the 13th. And my proposal is that we give them to Diane and let her make these corrections in conjunction with the review of the secretary, Mr. Duffy, and then present them at the next meeting.
Can we go through the numbers just to make sure? We have the 9th and 16th of December, January 13th and 27th.
And 18 November.
18 November, we haven't done that. But we didn't get that in our packet because we had it from last time.
Well,
I believe that's right.
You're right. Do you have changes to the 18th, Pete?
I don't know.
maybe you want to lend me that.
Okay. Well, I did have one. I think Henry Carr, there's 2 R's in his name.
Okay, what,
So that's,
these are okay. You want to send those back so Pete can look at those proposals? Now, I suppose that November 18th, we say the planning board postponed the approval of the meeting minutes until the next scheduled meeting, indicating to me that there are some minutes before the 18th that are,
I thought there was also, but Diane and I went through the records.
and you found in the minutes,
Well,
do the minutes recite that the,
no, not that I found, but she does in her book that has all the approved minutes, she has signed copies of minutes up
Right.
till November 18th.
the minutes, and what we're going to do is we're simply going to approve all the minutes. But the minutes should recite exactly what minutes were approved on any particular occasion,
Right.
so that we don't have things like this November 18th indication that there are meeting minutes that need to be approved even though there aren't. Okay. So the 9th seems to be okay.
Yeah, it doesn't say what meeting minutes you have.
Oh,
you
well,
have to look at the
this
agenda.
I have
Look at the
to,
agenda.
well, but you see, apparently there aren't any minutes that aren't approved prior to the 18th. So the recitation that there are unapproved minutes is just wrong.
Just let me see if I said, maybe it's, let Sherlock Holmes look.
Okay. I think that's it.
I'd like to make a motion that the outstanding minutes through January 13th be approved as amended.
Second.
Okay, and I want to look at the corrections.
Okay.
Okay, that all the minutes,
Through all the outstanding meeting minutes through.
all unapproved minutes,
Correct, through January 13th.
except for the 16th.
Which one?
I haven't seen the.
December 16th?
The regular December 16th.
Yeah, I haven't either, that's when we went into
Oh, we
executive
just have the
session.
executive
Right.
session ones, okay. Let me try one more time. I make a motion that all outstanding unapproved meeting minutes through January 13th, with the exception of the regular board meeting of December 16th, be approved as amended.
And November 18th.
18.
And
We gotta
November 18th.
look at that one more time?
Yeah.
And November 18th.
Well, as you remember, it,
Right. Slip through the cracks.
It-
Right.
okay. So the motion is, and, that all unapproved minutes for the fiscal year, except for, or through January
13th.
13th, except for
December
November
16th.
18th and the regular December 16th meeting,
Okay.
will be approved, and the minutes of December 9th, the executive session of December 16th, and the January, was it 13th?
13th.
Meeting will be as amended, and you're going to show me those amendments. and,
Before they get signed.
Okay?
Okay.
That's the motion. Do we have a
Second.
second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now we get to the citizen speak portion of the meeting, which we hear concerns from citizens, which have some reference to the planning board. Who would like to speak? And are those microphones working over there? Over there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so if you speak, use one of those two microphones. If you're very short, use the one that's down towards the table.
Good evening. Margaret Donovan, 41 Central Avenue, and I am here to speak about the open meeting law. In July, the meeting law was changed, but not substantially other than posting. There are a number of reasons, specifically 10, for which a board, a public board, is allowed to go into executive session. I have a copy of that page for each of you, as well as a copy of the law, Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Sections 18 to 25. I will pass out to the members of the board page 4 of this law, because it lists the 10 reasons for which you can go into executive session. But before doing that, the public has to meet in open session and then take a vote to go into executive session.
The board has to meet
Pardon?
in open session and take a vote to go into executive session.
That's right. Oh, did I say, yes, exactly. And then the chair discusses, states the purpose for the executive session, and the chair announces whether or not the board will be coming back into open session, and an accurate record of the executive session must be kept. And if a citizen has a concern about it, the citizen has 30 days to make an appeal, going first before the board and then The difference in the old law and the new is, it used to be the assistant district attorney, now it's the attorney general. I'm not addressing the issue, the date of the minutes of December 16th, but it would appear from the agenda that the meeting was scheduled for 6:30 while we waited out in the hall for the executive session to end, and then we were allowed to come in. I don't recall that what I just explained to you that was this procedure that was supposed to be taken was indeed followed. And in fact, when we got back, when we finally got in here, we found out that you treated this meeting, the public meeting, as the original meeting without taking a vote to go into executive session.
Well, actually, we posted the meeting for 6.
6 o'clock.
And then we went into executive session with a vote we were in public session, and then we voted to go into executive session, and then we voted to come out of executive session, and that's when we opened the door.
Oh, all right, but your agenda shows the meeting starting at 6:30. However, that's not the reason for my being here. I do want to share with you the law, and each of you.
But we did post and have an agenda for the executive session.
Two agendas.
So, to discuss litigation. So,
Okay.
I mean,
Two meetings.
maybe there was, I mean, we tried,
We have 2 separate agendas,
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman.
right.
There were 2
We pick
meetings,
up,
2
you know,
agendas.
We involved in 36 Central and 131 Elliott Street. We pick our issues, and so that one is not it.
All right.
However, I'm bringing it up because there was a request.
We're
Then
not
you
going to
take-
go into executive session for that.
So you know what, for that, is referred.
Right, to discuss the letter of the fire chief.
Okay, all right. So here's the law,
Thank you.
and here's the page that lists the 10
All right, good.
reasons for which you can go into executive session.
Now,
And I'd
you're
appreciate to
giving
see the other
everyone a
members.
copy of about 6 pages?
No, I'm giving you the copy of the 6 pages.
Oh, okay.
7 pages. But I'm giving them the copy of that page that has the 10 reasons.
Well, thank you. If you had a stapler, that would be perfection.
All right, so then it's the chairman's ruling that that letter does not come under one of the 10 exceptions, because it's certainly
Right,
my
right,
opinion.
That's my ruling.
All right, that's the end of my discussion, then, thank you. Are we going to have that letter read to us at
No,
tonight's
we're
meeting?
not going to, we may discuss it, let's take a look at the agenda. It's, that would be in our
7:30 hearing.
our 7:30 hearing, but I think that we will discuss how one deals with building safety and who the proper regulatory authority is.
So you're going to hide that letter then?
I don't think that we're going to hide it, we're just not going to read it on TV. But it's available, it's a letter
public-
that
it's a public
certainly is a
record.
public document, and it can be requested.
Right.
And there's no secrecy
All right.
about it.
So how does the public get an opportunity to read that letter?
I think they asked Mr. Clark.
They asked Mr. Clark?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, anyone else any other citizens want to speak? All right. Hearing none, we'll go on to, this is good timing. It's 6:45, and we've got a scenic road hearing.
You have any new business or old business?
I don't think that that's, no, I don't think that that actually, as an agenda topic, is in accordance with the law. In other words, if we've got something new to
Put those at the
discuss,
end,
Usually at the end.
one thing we might under new business discuss is just on this Harlan Street A&R plan. There are a couple of things that I'm concerned about, having nothing to do with the merits. But on this plan, and this is a plan that was submitted by Mr. Sandquist for endorsement by the board that approval under the subdivision control law is not required. And Mr. Sandquist owns about 8 acres on Harlan Street, and he is proposing to divide that into 3 lots, one of a little over 4 acres, and the other 2 with about 1.84 acres. And we will be addressing this A&R plan next time.
Yes, on the 10th.
But on it, on the plan, it says copyright by Merrill Associates, Inc. And then it says, no part of this document may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, handful, photocopying, recording, or otherwise, without the express written consent of Merrill Associates, Inc., with the exception of any regulatory authority which may reproduce it in conjunction with the performance of official business under its jurisdiction. Any modifications made to this document without the express written consent of Merrill Associates shall render it unusable. I want that stricken. This document, once we approve it, is a public record, and Merrill Associates has absolutely no ability to control the use of the document once we have endorsed it. And that copyright nonsense has got to go, because it's just not in accordance with the law, unless anyone
I think,
feels otherwise.
I think that's a typical provision that's used these days until a document is approved. So it means that,
Someone can't steal it.
something doesn't circulate as a draft document, and people think that that's the original document, that I would assume that they would automatically remove that on the copy that we actually sign. But I think,
That-
reminding them that
Meaning
that
it
should
wouldn't
be
be
done.
on the Mylar,
It would not be on the Mylar.
which I didn't bring because we wouldn't do it until next meeting. But
Okay.
I will check that and get back to
All
you
right.
tomorrow.
The other thing about this plan, it says endorsement, this is under our endorsement, it says endorsement of this plan shall not be an indication, express or implied, that the parcels or structures shown on this plan conform to applicable zoning requirements. And as we all know, the frontage on Harlan Street has to be in accordance with the zoning. Otherwise, we could not endorse the plan. And we've actually also looked at the areas and find them to be well over the 160,000 feet required. But that first item has to be stricken because it simply is not correct, accurate. So, we will address this plan at our next meeting. But I think that hopefully these changes will be made, because there might be a problem if they're not. Okay? Okay.
Can I give one comment out of the next meeting, future
Yes.
meetings?
Yeah.
The February 10th meeting cannot be in this building. It'll be in the Carol Blute Conference Room.
In the basement of Town Hall.
Yes.
Okay?
Why can't we meet in the selectmen's conference room? Taken?
it was requested that because of the size of the groups that have been attending, that we not use that conference room.
What do we have on?
April 10th, we actually have a pretty full agenda.
Okay, let's do the Carol Food then. I think that, that's
We actually have something, we have,
big.
yeah, we've got the A&R at 6:45. We've got 88 Wharf at 7. We have, there's something at 7:15.
Yeah, it could be.
17 Canton Ave is at 7:15.
Okay.
And 17 Canton Ave is a
Is that
site plan
next week?
approval.
Is that on the
The
next
10th.
meeting? Okay.
And then 7:30 was 131.
The only thing is, we can't go live in the basement conference room. And
I don't mind
some of
going
these important
upstairs.
matters that, you know, kind of time sensitive, and the public should, people have waited out in the hall next to the selectmen's room, you know, the
I'm
selectmen's
going to
agenda.
give it back to the chairman and
Okay.
Mrs. Donovan.
Well, as you recall, we had a problem with one of our hearings, and people were dissatisfied with standing in the hall. So I think that,
We have televisions downstairs in the kitchen too, they can watch it too. That's why the television is down there. They can watch it live.
I think we're supposed to, by law, ensure that the room is large enough to accommodate the expected attendance. So we can't deliberately, if we know we have a large agenda, we cannot have it in a room that we think might not be large enough to hold everybody. That's,
First time I've heard that.
that's the new.
It's
new
the new-
law.
it's the new law,
open
yeah.
Meeting law, that's,
Yeah.
right
I'd
here.
like to see it in writing.
yeah.
Okay, no, I'm not arguing, but.
I agree
This
with
is-
you, it'd be nice to be able to go live,
this
but we
is
can't
fine,
deliberately
yeah.
have it in a room that's too
I think
small.
it's too bad, but I think that we,
Because the
Did
people
make
aren't
a-
gonna see it for almost a week later.
we
so
did
that's the
make a,
problem.
we did, I know it. We did make a commitment to
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that that is the room that's wired for live broadcasts because it's inadequate for
Well, we
for
can do it from the library
publications.
too. We can use the Innis,
No, keys.
excuse me, the
Yeah,
keys.
conference room.
but they closed the library at 8, is that right?
9 o'clock.
Yeah,
They put
then
you out
the
of that
room is
room.
set up
Well,
so
that's
the main
okay.
library can be
Then maybe our
closed.
meetings will be time, you know, will be to the point, and we can get through them in 2 hours.
A deadline. We
right?
have a deadline.
Then you can walk home.
Yeah, I do think it's important to have our meetings where the people who want to participate, you know, both observe and participate in the meetings have an opportunity to do so. So I don't mind here and, you know, I don't mind Carol Blute, although it's, you know, not the best. Can that broadcast live from there?
No.
No, we
That's
used
okay.
to, but I think the reconstruction of that room did something.
Is it possible to schedule the tape for the next day rather than waiting a week later? Is there time on the schedule?
Well, the staff only works till like 11 PM that night, you know.
Goes on the next day.
Say again?
It goes on the next day.
Oh, it does not, okay.
During the
Okay,
day?
All
fine.
right, so, good.
That solves that?
11 o'clock at night, but it goes on the next day.
Well, that's,
If I had insomnia, I'd wait for the planning board meeting.
or you might wait for the selectmen's meeting.
Equally as effective.
Well, actually. Okay,
Very good.
we're going to have a scenic road hearing for 1396 Blue Hill Avenue, about to be 1749 Canton Avenue. If we approve a break in the stone wall. Welcome. Introduce yourself and tell us what the, give us a little history of this matter.
Yes, my name is Dorota Maricek. I live at 1396 Blue Hill Avenue for 23 years. 12 years ago, we decided to apply to build a new driveway coming from Canton Ave due to the safety, basically. Blue Hill Avenue is, you all know, very busy street and with a lot of accidents, and actually the prior owner's wife got killed in an accident in front of the house, and it was always my concern. We got actually approved and we received the street number. Unfortunately, the financial situation and all kind of other reasons happened that we couldn't do the driveway. So now the times are a little better, and I went back to the documentations I received, and we want to go with the plan and make that driveway, especially because the highway, actually 138, gets more busy with every year. My son started to drive, and that's a big concern to me too. Getting in and out the driveway is dangerous. And if you could go today and look at the snow piles on both sides, it's just really hard to get in and out the house. The front of the house is also faced to Canton Ave. The house is located very close to Blue Hill Ave, but the face of the house, the front, is to Canton Ave. So, so that's my proposal. And as for the scenic wall, it's very easy to maintain it the way that my neighbors did. My driveway won't be any difference from any driveway that is actually in Canton Ave when you drive through.
And how big is this opening?
The opening is
16.
16 feet?
16, yeah.
And you're going to curve it in, and it's going to travel in about 8 feet?
Yes. And
Yes.
it will then be 12 feet.
Okay, so it basically will be, the length will be the same, except it will curve in along the edges of the...
That's the plan.
Okay.
Can I make one other comment?
Yes.
It is not a cut in the wall. The yard drops down probably 2 feet, maybe 2.5 feet down. So they'll be bringing fill in to make the driveway. You'll come out of the yard to get to the top of
Of the street.
Canton Ave.
Yeah.
So you're not taking down the wall, they're filling up to
And-
the wall, and then
So
they'll
they'll
pave.
bury the wall in
They'll
essence.
bury that piece of the wall, yes.
The opening, for the opening.
Although
Yes.
structurally, it makes more sense to take those stones out of there so you don't have shifting. You know, you'll have a more firm
Well, they're going to need those stones.
to do the curves, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You're
I've got
going to
no,
remove the stone to
yeah,
just...
I've got no problem with them
Okay.
removing those stones and using them to
Yeah.
Yeah.
create the entryway.
Anyone want to be heard on this application?
I do have one question.
Yeah.
The documentation from when you had this approved 12 years ago required that you close off the curb cut to Blue Hill Avenue. Is
Yeah.
that still your intention, that that'll be closed up and blocked off and that section of driveway taken out?
Yes, I guess so. I cannot have two driveways.
Right.
Yes.
Well, that would be good to close it off,
Close that
because the fewer
Oh, that's-
driveways on
That's
Blue
the
Hill
intention. I
Avenue.
really don't want to use it, so
Some people
definitely.
like an extra curb cut, so if they have to bring things in or whatever,
Oh.
but,
What?
you know,
I'll write it accordingly.
All right.
I think it makes sense to remove it. Any other comments, questions?
I think it's a
I
great
guess
idea.
I'd make a motion that we approve the request under the scenic law bylaw to make alterations to the stone wall on Canton Avenue per the plan. To
16 feet.
a 16-foot opening with the stones that are salvaged from the construction of that being used to do curved entryways on either side of the driveway opening, so that the wall looks continuous and that match the old wall, and that the existing driveway opening on Blue Hill Avenue be closed and the driveway removed.
I'll second that.
Or that the opening be closed.
The opening be closed.
Maybe they want to play basketball there.
Whatever.
Okay. Is that the,
That's
that's the
it.
motion,
That's
and
the
you
motion.
second
I
it?
second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous vote,
Thank you.
and thanks.
And you drive safely now.
Thank you very much. We can leave, I believe.
Yes. All set.
And Mr. Clark will be the point person in getting you whatever the building inspector wants,
What DPW wants.
whatever
Yes.
DPW wants,
I have to
okay?
I'll write this to fit with the application you've already filed.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming
Thank
in.
you.
Night.
Good night.
All right, 36 Central Avenue, a materials change request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I need one more, Andy. Missing number. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, there appears to be an extra copy of that. Could we share that with the abutters?
Sure, here.
Yeah. Just put it back over there.
I mean, we can share this also. So here's another one too, if anyone would like it.
Another one? Pass that among everybody down there.
All right,
Good evening, my name is Paul Sullivan, live at 21 Smith Road, Milton. And we're here tonight to discuss minor modification to the front of the building, the column area, where the porch is, I guess you call it. And we have Andy Zaleski here, the architect from MZO who designed the building, to discuss it also. We would hope that the board would be able to maybe come and do a site walk to come into the building and actually see the trim that we put up. We trimmed out about a third of the front of the building with the materials, so that you get a good sense of what it's gonna look like, and we painted it the trim color. And I think it'll also be a good opportunity to bring you through the entire, the building. We have 4 units we're working on that are gonna be model units, and it might be helpful to get a sense of the building overall. So we would welcome you to come to the site if you can.
I drove by the site today and looked at what you'd done, even though there was a significant amount of machinery there.
Yes, we weren't sure anybody's gonna look at it today, so we had requested that you could do a site walk and go up on the porch, and I think you'd get a better visual.
All right, well,
view of the-
Mr. Clark has posted a sidewalk for 9 o'clock on Saturday, and members of the board are welcome to go on that sidewalk. I will advise Mr. Clark whether or not I think I need to go on the sidewalk.
I can make it.
I can make it.
I can't make it at 9.
It could be different times.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Some
not if it's
morning, I'd
posted.
love to go over and see how the building's coming along.
Sure.
Okay. With only, it depends on whether Mr. Duffy is going to attend with
Right.
Mr. Lynch and Ms. Innes. I think I probably won't attend on 9 on Saturday.
Would like to hear your comments.
It is posted, so you can
Like
all
8
go.
o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
Does that mean you might come?
You might come.
Okay.
All right. Continue.
Okay, I'm Andrew Zaleski, the architect. Excuse me. Like to just say a few things about how we've come to this point. Oh, I'm sorry. The original design called for a stone veneer on that lower portion. Now, a stone veneer would have been on the face toward the street. It would have been about 1.5 inches thick, but it would not have wrapped around the columns and things. So as you went by on the street, you would see the stone. But if you were walking along the sidewalk and you walked up onto the porch area, you would actually see the side of the stone veneer, and then the back side of the columns was to be trimmed out in a wood material.
May I ask why it wouldn't have wrapped around and whether that was presented to the board? I don't.
That was the way the original design was done. It was a stone veneer.
I don't think we
Around the
understood.
column.
Yeah, I don't think we understood that the back of the columns was meant to be wood.
Okay, well, that was,
So the columns would appear as
that
a
was the
stone
way it
column.
was
Because I don't think we ever saw an
approved.
elevation of the
Well,
inside of the
we're going
porch.
to this is news to us, so
Okay.
we're going to take a look at this because obviously it sounds less than perfect.
In
If that's what you were
thinking it
proposing.
through, what we're looking at is several things. I have done buildings with the stone veneer when it's applied to a heated space. In this case, we were actually going to apply it to a space that was out in front where there is no heat or anything. So the stone would have been subject to freezing and thawing from front and behind. I became concerned about this because I have heard of a situation where a piece of a stone veneer like that actually worked its way loose. It fell down, it could have injured somebody. That started me worrying, quite frankly. The second thing is, with the material that we are using, we originally looked at using an AZAC material. Now, I don't know, AZAC is kind of the in thing these days, but one of the big problems with AZAC is when the sun hits it, it expands and contracts quite a bit. And if you do a detail work like this and it starts to expand and contract, quite frankly, it's going to move around. Joints could open. It could be a big problem. The material that we found is the lifespan. It's actually a wood-based product that comes from New Zealand. Actually, the chemistry comes from New Zealand. It has a permanent chemistry that preserves the wood to keep it from cupping or swelling or rotting or any of the things that wood untreated would do. It's a pre-primed product. It's thicker than the AZAC. It actually looks like wood because it is wood. I think it's a far superior choice. And when I saw the product, I was very happy with it. We've gone through the details. It really gives a brightness to the building. We've used this sailcloth color for our trim throughout. We're proposing to use that. Now, I don't know, has it been painted to
Yes.
date? Okay.
I believe
Well, the
it.
last time I saw it, it was white, and it looked like white. But this color was chosen to go with all the other colors of the materials that we have in the building, and it really, it meets, for example, this is the material that's used in the lintels and things, and this is a color that really blends well with the other colors. Now we can take the material, we can wrap it completely around the column, so when you're on the porch, you get the same effect as when you're walking by on the sidewalk. They've done a beadboard ceiling inside, doesn't show in the rendering, which is going to be a stained wood, very elegant. It's not some plastic thing that looks like beadboard. It is a true beadboard, and it is a varnished wood. On the inside, there are cornice moldings and things to tie that all together. Bringing that to the outside, one other concern I've had looking at the building, and I hate to say it, but things happen. Sometimes in a place where a material is on a public sidewalk, people are walking by, vehicles are, well, they're not supposed to be on a sidewalk, but you know, and I know sometimes it happens. If we had a stone veneer on here, and if something happened to damage it in some way, somebody, I hate to say it, but painted it or wrote their name on it or something, you've seen it, I've seen it. You drive down the highway and you see a concrete abutment and it's got some gray paint where the graffiti used to be. The problem is with the stone, you cannot really repair it. A mark is permanent. With the product that we have, if something happened to it, we could repaint it, we could paint it back to the original color. If it was physically damaged, it can be repaired, pieces could be put back in, and it could be made to look like new if something ever happened to it. This is in a very vulnerable area where people are close to it, they can touch it, they're walking by. That was the other concern I had with the stone. We've really done a beautiful job. We have the brick up top. We've used the slate on top. I think the building is coming out phenomenal if you look carefully at the whole upper part. All of this material is in a place where it's not going to be casually damaged or touched or anything. This area, thinking about having that stone just where people are constantly going by, the potential of a piece of it coming off, I mean, all those things, we've really talked about this and said, this, I think, is a much better idea. It gives a very bright look for the people who are running their business. That whole porch becomes a bright area. Daylight comes in, it bounces around, it's reflected by the brighter colors, the lighting at night. For so many reasons, I feel that this is a much better approach. It's going to be a much more attractive building, and over the years, it's going to be maintained in a much better way than the stone would have been. So, I mean, that's our reasoning for it. We're trying to improve the building. We want to have a successful building. We want the commercial space to be successful. I know it was very important through the whole approval process to have a viable commercial part of this building, and this really enhances that commercial part and ties it in. I have the samples, and if you need to look closely of the material so you can see how we've chosen the colors. The other material would be continued. It would be a color to complement the siding as it wraps around the side. I just hope you would take a good look. The quality of the workmanship and the detailing is exceptional. This is not a cheapening by any stretch of the imagination. These are first-class materials. It's not plywood and styrofoam. This is a high-quality wood product, and it's going to be there for a long, long time.
Mr. Chairman, if I could say one thing too. This building is basically at a transition point from the residential neighborhood to the commercial area. And I really think this, the trim on the porch area really kind of helps the transition from the residential to the commercial. So it's not an overpowering commercial building in that location. It's kind of a mix, which is what the inside of the building is. It's a mixed use, and I think it gives it a mix of a commercial and a residential feel, and transitions very well from the single-family homes that are in the area to the commercial district.
Let me read the section on amendment in the special permit. This special permit and site plan approval may be amended by the planning board upon application of the applicant or its assignee during construction, and thereafter upon application by owner and the Association of Condominium Owners. Applications for substantial amendment shall be subject to the usual requirement for notice, including advertising and a hearing. Application for what applicant considers insubstantial amendment shall be subject to such notice as the planning board deems reasonable, but shall include notice to abutters, the Columbine Cliff Neighborhood Association, or Successor Civic Association, the Milton Village Central Avenue Revitalization Committee, or Successor Association, and the Board of Selectmen. In the event that any board member or person notifies the board that the amendment is substantial, it shall be so treated. This special permit may also be amended by the planning board in consultation with the Association of Condominium Owners, should circumstances require reconsideration of any of its provisions. So I think that we'd better decide right now whether or not we think this is a substantial change. If one of us does, it will be so treated.
Can I ask a question before we decide that?
Yes.
On your left and right side elevations, you have a textured material that's not clapboard. It's sort of an olive green color. Yeah,
Yes.
that. What's that? What material is that?
This is a stucco material here.
Not stone.
It's stone veneer,
No, it's,
It's
he's
not the
saying it's
stone.
stucco
but we
material.
approved stone.
Right, I know,
Right.
but I'm asking what he's showing.
It is a stucco material. It's just
Okay,
the-
so it is in fact different
So
than
that's
what we
another
approved.
change that you're
Right.
proposing, right?
Mhm.
So by
That's the
my
first we've heard of
count,
that.
we have a stucco material
That's-
instead of the
That's my
stone,
plan.
Yeah.
a clapboard material instead of the
Actually,
stone.
I'm not taking it.
What?
I mean, this
We're
is-
really here tonight just to discuss the porch and the columns, if we want to.
But you're showing us a stucco material.
So you're suggesting that you're gonna be coming back subsequently with another
It
change?
depends if we're going to get substantial or not in the.
Well,
This is a
this
substantial
is very,
change.
very substantial.
This is a very substantial change. If you want to pursue it, we're going to mark it up for a public hearing. We're not going to do these changes piecemeal either. You're not going to come in for this and then come in for that. And, I mean, if you want some changes, and if we've heard about 2 of them already tonight, if you want some changes, come in, we'll have a public hearing,
Yeah.
and we will decide it. But that's the way it's got to be done, because this is, I got a call today from someone who said they were very concerned about the change in material.
Well, we were originally looking at a change in a single material, which was on the front of the porch, the supports to the porch. Now we're looking at the supports to the porch. We're looking at removing the stone veneer in the front and replacing that with a clapboard style
Which has
material.
never even been mentioned
Which hasn't
yet.
been mentioned before, and we're looking at removing the stone on the side and replacing that with the stucco material, which also hasn't been mentioned. So I would say the 3 together become a substantial change, absolutely.
My own view is individually or together, it's a substantial change.
All right.
So that's how we're going to do it. We're going to look at our special permit and see whether or not, just how far we buy this, this idea that the stone was not to wrap around the columns, and
Yeah, I don't think that was under consideration.
well, we've heard quite a lot tonight. We're going to have a public hearing.
I do like the idea of the people at
I
that.
have a question
That sounds nice.
on the color of that material there.
Why don't you come up and just come up and standing there, speak into the microphone, and or bring your chair up.
It's all right, I'll move.
Excuse me. This is Margaret Donovan, 41 Central Avenue. This is what they're showing as the new material, the Aztec you're talking about?
No, it's a wood. No.
The wood?
Yeah.
All right, so
Paint, that's the paint that will go on.
all right. Is that what is here now? Because there is on the right-hand side in the front, they've extended this white stuff so that it occupies this much space, and it's not this color.
No, it is today. It's been painted. This is the paint.
It's
Yeah. The material is wood, and that's the paint that, I saw it, Monday it was white, but they said it is painted today.
Well, maybe it's because I had my back to it for a while shoveling, but I didn't see any paint on there. And I think I brought my sunglasses up because frankly, when you look out at it, it just glares right out at you. Now, when was this painted?
Today. It was
I live
white.
across the street. There's
Chairman,
no,
Yeah,
would you
I'm sorry.
want us to submit an affidavit from the painter that he painted that?
I mean, it was white.
We're going to have a public hearing. I would suggest that you're saying this is a substantial change that you don't like.
you could interpret
I
it that
could, I
way.
could interpret, I deduce that.
Yeah.
I think that, Ann, you're going to need, a substantial change is going to require 4 or 5 votes, by the members of this board. So,
And I think at the public hearing, they should be prepared to talk about how that paint is going to
they're going to have to
last.
discuss how the wood is going to last.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to, no, I mean, this is a substantial change, and we're going to not be surprised by any aspect of it.
I do think it's ironic, though, because, we're looking at 2 projects in that area, and one is suggesting clapboard on the lower floors and brick on the upper floors, and the other is suggesting brick on the lower floor and clapboard on the upper floor. So one thing we might want to consider as we're looking at both projects is, do we want a unified, coherent
Unified
whole?
feel?
Yes, exactly, or
So we're
not.
gonna ask them to take the brick off the upper and put it
No,
on-
there probably is an advantage to being first.
Or
But
they
it
could
is,
put
it is
clapboard
something,
over the brick.
seriously though, it is something we ought to consider, so.
Okay, no,
good-
but
yeah.
this is, these are all things that are proper subjects for the public hearing.
Can I just mention one other thing? Mr. Jackson has submitted a picture of the old police station, and if you remember what was in that picture, it was brick and stucco. So, I just wanted.
Okay,
My question is the site walk still on for Saturday morning, and are the abutters privileged to attend as well, or is this cancel the site walk until after the public hearing? And do we get a chance to look at the model units, the butters? We might be interested in them.
well, this is something that we're going to let Mr. Clark figure out tomorrow.
I think it would be a good idea for us to see the materials as proposed before the public hearing, so.
Well,
I would
we've
like to
seen
see
it,
that.
I mean, it's there.
Well,
Well,
yes,
the
but
stucco's
some of
not
us
in the-
work until after dark, and so it is impossible for us to stop by in daylight hours. I got the invitation, and both days I've been working until
But the
too late to see
Saturday
it.
sidewalk. yeah.
That's what I'm saying, is I want to attend the Saturday sidewalk. I think that's important that we do.
I think the
Yeah.
Saturday sidewalk, I mean, it is interesting about whether or not the developer wants the public coming with the board, and if not, I don't think the board probably should go inside.
Well, I think the site walk to look at the materials change certainly has to be done, in a public hearing setting.
Right, absolutely.
Whether the board is invited to see the inside, and whether for liability reasons or whatever reasons, the developer doesn't want the general public, that's
I
up
don't
to
think
their.
the board should go inside as a board.
No, I think the important part, what we're trying to decide is
Is
the
the
materials.
outside materials,
Yeah,
and that should
absolutely.
be
This
done
should
in a
be- yeah.
public hearing.
Exactly, there should be no need for us to go inside.
Okay,
I think the one thing,
That
if
answers
you
my
went
questions.
to the top floor units on the decks, you could see the close-up, the shingle work, and that's one of the reasons that Paul had suggested you might want to go inside, because you would be able to really see these materials
Mhm.
close
But
up.
those materials, I'm assuming you haven't changed the roofing materials.
No,
so,
it's
okay.
it's just
So-
an example of how, the overall quality of the building. I think that's something that's critical. I don't want anybody to get an idea that we're trying to somehow degrade the quality of the building at all.
And you said the material's called Lifespan?
I believe it's called Lifespan. It's a wood. When it comes from the supplier, it is a bright white, has a primer, it's a white primer, but it is ready for paint, and
Okay.
I know this is the color that
But you don't have the
It
material,
shows.
you don't have a sample of the material.
But
There is a sample of it on.
He's going to.
site.
He's going to have the specifications for the material and,
Yeah.
we're going to give this, some scrutiny.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is really beyond AZAC. This is a material that's much more durable than AZAC. This is a real.
We will await your showing that at the public hearing. Bill?
Yep.
That's, we need advertising on 2 successive weeks,
Yep,
so it's probably early March,
the 24th
the 24th, you think?
February.
Okay. Thanks. At what time?
I can't give you that right this second.
All right, well, it's going to be in the ad, so that's
Yes.
fine. And we'll announce it at our next meeting. Okay, 216 Pleasant Street.
Are you going to, so are you having the sidewalk or aren't you having the
It's
sidewalk?
going to happen,
The sidewalk will take place.
See, I didn't know.
but it's just looking at the outside,
Right,
and
it's
I've
the- it's
looked
the
at
porch.
it.
It's the porch only for the sidewalk.
It seems to me that people can look at the material without
Okay,
going on a sidewalk.
yes.
I mean, I don't think the sidewalk is critical, but it's posted. I mean, at 9 o'clock,
If they
people
want to go in
can.
and be touchy-feely with the material, they can do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. 216 Pleasant Street. Now, this is a subdivision, and we're awaiting the covenant. And we have a proposed document, which is entitled Homeowner Covenant. And has Mr. Flynn looked at this?
Mr. Flynn has not looked at this.
All right, well, I have looked at this, and I have a few questions. One is, the declarant is Echo Coastal Homes, Inc. And in order to make its declaration worth the paper it's printed on, it has to be the owner. And I am not aware, the application for the subdivision was Sullivan Homes, LLC. And so I need specific proof that Echo Coastal Homes, Inc. owns this property.
It's just under P&S. The current owner still has title to the property.
So Echo
It's not Echo Coast.
Echo Coastal Homes, Inc. is going to buy it
Yes.
at some point. But they don't, until they do, they're not
So
going
you
to
want
be
the-
able to declare a home over the covenant because they have no interest. So it's,
So you're looking for the current owner's name, or?
well, is the current, the owner has to declare the restriction, as I understand it under the statute, which, 184, section 26.
Would the,
Well, I could get, well, I mean, we could add their name and make than part of this, I suppose.
Or if the covenant was executed at the same time that the sale, I assume that the PNS is waiting for the approval of the plan, at which time there will be a sale.
Yes.
And so if the covenant was executed at the same time as the sale, so this new owner executes it, I would think that that would...
Well, you recall the recent case we had where someone, a developer, failed to record all the necessary documents. I mean, what we want are the documents suitable for recording, because this is going to be recorded
Right.
with the subdivision plan, and in fact, it's going to be referenced on the subdivision plan.
Well, I could check with the current owner to see if that, we could instead put their name on it, and we could record it with the decision.
And with the subdivision plans, and then, and it would note,
Yeah, because
it
after
would note
that,
that it
Well, I mean,
runs
the
with the property.
subdivision plan doesn't get recorded for 20 days, so we've got to, I want Mr., I mean, I want Mr. Flynn to bless this. Because I'm not entirely comfortable with it.
What, is there something in particular that
Well,
that makes you uncomfortable?
I think the declaration is, the declaration and making it run to the town, is it enough to say, this is for the benefit of the town of Milton, and does that somehow give the town, I mean, is that enough? Is that adequate? Because obviously, if the only people who are bound by this are the two homeowners, then it's easy enough to ditch it by simply getting the two homeowners to agree to ditch it.
no, it says in here that this runs in perpetuity, and it also says it on page 2, I think it's on page, yes, the terms and provisions of this declaration, including the covenants and restrictions set forth herein, cannot be modified, amended, changed, extended, or terminated unless approved by the Milton Planning Board.
Now, the question I have is, if the town has no right to enforce it, an interest, unless this actually gives the town standing to enforce the terms, then the only people who could enforce it would be the two homeowners. And if they agreed not to enforce it, it would be, in effect, a nullity. But my desire is to get Mr. Flynn to review this. He was supposed to have reviewed it. He reviews all these things. All these homeowner covenants go through Mr. Flynn.
Right. They certainly have. in the
Because
past,
we-
yeah.
We don't do it. So we're going to have to postpone this again. Sorry. But it's got to go through Mr. Flynn. And we'll see if we can't urge him to get it done by next meeting. Bill?
Okay,
Is next meeting the 10th?
Yeah.
yes.
Now, what else is there? We obviously have we've got to figure out, it seems to me in this, we need a better description of the land. And the subdivision plan, of course, is you are the applicant.
Should it be referencing,
Map and block? and-
yeah, exactly.
Well, no, I just,
More specific?
I think that it's like in any deed. It's like any deed. You're basically, you're imposing a restriction on land. You want to know what the land is. It's the land shown in the subdivision, but you do have a book and page. It's just it's one lot, right?
Right now
I mean, you can really reference the whole thing. And I will send Mr. Flynn with a copy to you, a copy of my comments on this thing, and we'll see if we can't get it done. But I'm not exactly sure whether this is going to be adequate. And if it's not, we'll make it adequate, because we want to get this done. Okay, so,
Mr. Chairman, would you expect that the decision will be written by the 10th? The draft decision?
So
I think
all be
that-
approved at once?
I would say that, I think that if Mr. Flynn gives the sign off on this is basically the only,
Outstanding, right?
Yeah.
the only outstanding item. So if Mr. Flynn gives us a sign off, within a day of the 10th, I think that we can do that.
Okay.
Do we have the Mylars of the plans and everything on this?
No.
Okay.
All right.
Because you're trying to get a closing scheduled or something, right? Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
If we could sign off, I mean, if everything is done to our satisfaction, if we could sign off on everything on the 10th, that would be good.
it would be
Finish.
good.
The only two things that you had outstanding were the covenant and a note from John Thompson stating that the engineering review was complete.
and he's
And
given
he's
us
done
that.
so.
Yeah.
Right, he's given us that, so it's really getting this done.
Yes.
But the plans should be all done and ready to execute, we just need the written finding.
And I think so, and will go a long way to pulling it together.
Yeah.
You're going to have the plans with the new name.
Yeah, well, the Mylar all set, we'll bring it that night.
Okay.
Okay.
And if you.
Because then we will hold it for the appeal hearing.
Yeah, and then if you could let John Flynn know that we're aiming to get everything wrapped up on the 10th. He has that deadline.
Fine.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
So many papers, I keep losing the agenda. There it is. Okay, 131 Elliott Street.
Good evening, Stephen Connolly, applicant.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Thank you.
But we have mentioned that this is not a dash. This is more like a marathon.
It is.
Mr. Chairman, after the last meeting, during the last meeting, you chose Matthew Largess to be your consulting arborist. One of the things I had to do is find out from Mr. Conley if he was going to pay the money for Mr. Largess. And yes, that telephone call came in. Mr. Conley agreed. I have since spoken to Mr. Largess, and he is due to have something for you on the 10th of February. Snow, not getting in the way. He was supposed to go and look at it. I'm not sure if it was yesterday or the day before. I think it was the day before yesterday. I don't know how far he got. I don't know what he did. I know he intends to look at the RFP and answer your questions accordingly. He's going to take the Mr. Ackerson letter that was in the original submittal, and he will peer review it, make comment to it, and he'll have documents for you for the 10th.
You did send him Mr. Ackerson's
Yes.
letter?
I gave him a note to proceed and Mr. Atkinson's document.
Good.
And when did Mr. Conley call you? Was this weeks ago?
2 days after the meeting? Actually, the
Okay,
meeting was on Thursday, call Monday, Tuesday,
okay.
whatever it was.
So you were very prompt.
Yes, I
Thank you.
was.
Appreciate it, greatly
Didn't
appreciate
do
it.
you any good, but
You did your part.
I wanted to do my part. So we'll see you on the 10th, is it?
I think it's see you on the 10th.
Is he going to show up on the 10th? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
The arborist is going to show up, Mr. Largess,
And will your
or
arborist
maybe
be
it's
there
Mr.
also?
Largess.
Maybe, maybe not, it depends on what he comes back with.
Will we get a copy of the peer review before the meeting, Bill? Do you know? Or I was supposed to.
Supposed to,
We're
yes.
supposed to, okay, so he
Yes.
would also have a copy?
Yes.
And have, okay, so you
Yes.
can see what,
See what happens.
yeah, see what your arborist thinks of the peer review.
I guess we did want to mention, we did get a letter from the fire chief saying that, or the ex-fire chief, saying that the building isn't safe. And if it were to catch fire, it would be dangerous for firefighters. And I guess the question is this a matter for current fire chief, Board of Health, the building inspector?
I would assume they would, all three would want to know.
But what is, can you help us out here, Bill? What is, assuming there's a problem with the building, it's an unsafe building, I mean, it's got those X signs on it.
Those are from the fire department.
Right.
Yeah,
But we got a letter saying that it could be made more safe by making sure the dry sprinkler system could be charged. What's the right way to, where should we direct
That-
this letter?
That would go to the fire chief.
Okay, and have you sent
I've
it?
had a conversation with him. One of the things he did do is he checked on the status of the panel. There's a fire alarm box on the building. Building owner is required to pay a fee every year. The Conleys have paid that fee. I know it goes to that box. The box responds back to the fire station. I doubt that it works throughout the building, but it's on the building. Should somebody go up and hit the box will activate in the fire station. That's all I know.
All right. Well, I think we should send this letter over to the fire chief.
Well,
The
a
fire
couple-
chief got a copy of the letter, the Board of Health got, not the Board of Health, the Board of Selectmen got a copy of that letter. The letter is actually addressed to the selectmen.
And
And
planning
have they discussed it at all?
It's what?
Has the Board of Selectmen discussed it at all?
I don't know what they've done on it. I haven't.
I think that,
How old is that letter, Mr. Chairman? Just curious.
it's a month.
Months, and no one except the person that wrote the letter has,
Well, this is the ex-chief who wrote the letter,
oh,
and he said that he thought that it was a dangerous building. And I think that, it probably is a dangerous building.
it's marked.
it's got the
as
X on it, firefighters aren't supposed to enter it,
such.
that
Not enter.
signifies a certain element of danger, yes.
So I would, I guess,
The X means they will not send a fireman into the building.
Right, exactly. They will not
They're
enter that building.
They're not sure of the structure for the roof or the floors.
Right,
They're not sure what the walls are. There's water, ice.
mhm,
They have no clue. You saw the different holes.
yes.
They're not putting somebody in it. They'll fight the fire so that it doesn't spread,
Right,
but they're not
but they
going
won't save
to-
the building and they
No,
won't send
they're not
somebody in
looking to
there,
save
yeah.
the building.
It's not clear to me what the device is that supposedly the Conleys are paying for.
It's just one of the fire
The
boxes
fire-
like they have
fire
around
alarm
town.
box.
Fire
Yeah.
box?
Yeah.
Fire alarm box.
Does it
Automatic one?
detect?
Yes, it's a master box that directs it.
Right,
It
it's the
goes
master
directly
box.
to the,
Directly to the
Right.
fire
to the
department.
Yeah.
department.
And then you've got smoke detectors in
Yes.
places?
Right,
Yeah.
So it detects any
Right.
incident that might be inside?
right.
Do you know if the interior fire suppression system is working?
It's a dry system, they charge it from the outside. There's a standpipe next to the door on Elliott Street, and they hook up to the hydrant. We've done pressure tests there in the past, and it has passed with the fire department.
Okay.
I think that was the issue with Mr. Larson, or Chief Larson, that it hasn't been done recently, and he doesn't know that the system is usable.
I would think, I mean, he has directed his concern to the selectmen. A copy has gone to the current fire chief, and I would think the
Yes.
Board of Health and the fire chief and the selectmen have more to do with this than we do.
Well,
Fire chief
yeah.
wasn't really doing much with it because he knew it was the building is in the permitting process. He's not looking to slow the process down. He's hoping that the process goes faster, that the building comes down. But I
But
there
I
were a
think
lot
that
of
was
hopes in
part
that.
of Chief Larson's concern, as expressed in his letter. He said 10 or 12 years ago, when we went through this, that, you know, it was represented that, you know, within a year or 18 months, the building would come down, but that was 10 or 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're hoping it's not 10 or 12 years ago again. But
think we'll-
I think
we will
that's
get
why,
this
I think
back
that's why
before
he
10
raised the
years,
issue,
All right.
is that, you know,
Yeah.
but I think it's under other people's jurisdiction other
Push the
than ours.
process and make the building come down.
I would,
fast.
Yeah.
I would agree that it is actually not our particular jurisdiction.
It is,
I mean, obviously, the building is something that we take as given, but
Yeah.
whether or not we monitor it as something else.
it's properly under the jurisdiction of those boards that have that responsibility.
I think so.
And that's not our responsibility. However, it is important information to know, so.
Steve, did you say that there are heads in the building
Yes.
and they're operating? That
Yes,
was
they are.
something that the current chief had no clue of. All he knows of is the master panel outside.
Mhm.
He
No,
didn't
there's-
know that there was anything
There's heads
in the building.
Yeah, there's a panel inside and there's heads in the building. And if there's any issue with those heads, would alert the fire department that there was an issue. That's what I'm relying on.
Okay,
All right.
yes. Now we've gotten to I think that we'll see you on the 10th.
See you.
Thanks for coming in.
Yes.
Pleasure's all mine.
Yes, yes, with the public, for public comment.
Yes. Please join us and
Margaret Donovan, 41 Central Avenue, and abutter to that particular piece of property as well as 36 Central. And in listening to your discussion tonight comes as no surprise, because that has been one of the main concerns of the neighborhood. And in regard to whether or not the heads are functioning, how will you ever know until there is a fire? And so we concur with the previous fire chief to get this building down and get it built, because it is a safety hazard to all of us. All we can say is, look what happened in Worcester, unexpected. One good fire and it can envelop the whole block, which means Mr. McCabe's house right across the street and can go right back into my house. So this is a concern. We don't need to see the fire chief's letter, former fire chief's letter, because we know. And so we're asking this board to move this process along so that we are taking out of that danger. Mr. McCabe, I don't know if you have anything to say here. He is a firefighter. He lives right across the building. He explained to me what that big X means. And so we don't want to see that X there for very, very much longer.
My name's Jim McCabe, 136 Elliott Street. Yeah, I was concerned about the building. I'd like to have it torn down as quick as possible if we could, and you know, to find out, to start the process. Also, again, to the traffic and all the other stuff that goes with it, and what we have to do on the, you know, the project. So, I'd like that to happen.
I think that we all would. But we're still going to make sure that we don't cut a lot of corners.
I've lived in front of that building for 12 years, so it's been a while. So hopefully, things can happen. Thank you.
If I could come back, I'd like to add one more comment. And that is, I was here when you had 64-unit building going up there at one time. And
We
now-
did?
You did?
We did?
You did? Well, you didn't, you weren't in the process, but before
The
you,
zoning had
before
larger-
you was a 64-unit building, Mr. Conley, at one point?
We had proposed at one time, it's not before the board.
Oh, not, well, where did I hear about the 64 units?
Well, there was public meetings.
Public
Talking
meetings.
about the zoning.
All right. My point is that this has been reduced substantially to 32 plus 4, 36. Am I correct?
34 with commercial space.
All right. So they've made great progress. The Conleys have made great progress in trying to adhere to the requirements and wishes of the planning board. So we hope that you'll move this process along. Thank you.
Thanks. We've gotten to we're going to continue the public hearing now until the 10th.
Time?
What time?
7:30.
Fine. What is happening before that?
Is this a quiz? We have an A&R at quarter of, 88 Wharf at 7, 17 Canton Ave at 7:15.
We've got 216
7:30 for
Pleasant
here,
Street.
and we'll have to make 216 Pleasant afterwards.
7:45?
Fine. You have,
No, I mean, it'll be 8:45.
Well, yeah, but it
We'll
might be
reschedule
possibly
it, we see
earlier,
how
yes.
keep going 15 minutes, 15
I like the
minutes,
15-minute
minutes.
increments.
I know that you'll have issues when you start dealing with 17 Canton Ave.
Okay.
The 216 Pleasant Street
Well, you know,
should
how
take-
long are we giving 17?
It's,
We can't give it 15 minutes. We've got to be more reasonable about this.
But if we schedule them, because if they come in all of a sudden and, you know, want to
I only have to
hold it
worry.
over or something, we don't want to have to wait for an hour for the
Right,
next.
I only have to
Right.
worry about,
Item.
the posting for 17 Canton Ave is 7:15. The posting, there is no posting for the A&R.
The A&R
The posting
doesn't matter.
for the 88 Wharf is at 7 o'clock,
Right.
which might mean that you're looking at 8 o'clock for 216.
Yeah, you could do 131 at 7:45 if you think 17 Pleasant's going to be more than 15 minutes.
Okay,
Or do you want to do it in 15-minute increments?
17, I mean, there are issues there. Part of that building is in the residential zone. I mean, there are issues there.
There's a
All
lot of
right, so
neighborhood
then do
concern.
131 Elliott at 8 and
And so we
216
don't want the
8:15.
neighborhood, we don't want to, say, well, we've got something else to do in 15 minutes, so keep it quick.
Okay.
We've got to give them at least half an hour.
So we're
Right.
looking to give Mr. Conley 7:45?
And 216 Pleasant, 8:15.
Well,
It
you've got
gives a
the
half
arborist
hour for
showing up
131 and-
Conway,
The
right?
arborist is
And
going
you've
to,
got concerned neighbors, I'm sure they'll be out in the
Well, yeah.
droves. We don't want to keep them here all night.
Can we do it earlier?
Why don't we do it earlier for the neighbors' sake?
you mean start at
And
6?
for John's
You
sake.
mean start at 6?
6:30.
Well, I can give the 6:45.
What about John?
The 6:45 is only an A&R.
Okay, so give
There's no-
6:45 to 131 Elliott Street.
Fine.
And give the A&R 7:45.
Well, the A and R is,
The A&R doesn't need to have a public hearing,
no.
so it
Oh,
can
that's
go
right,
on
so it
the
can go
back
on
end.
anytime, that's right. I was thinking it was a continuation, but of course it's not.
No, I mean, the reason we,
That will have to wait. So we'll go 6:45 to 1:31. 7 o'clock is,
let's start at
88
six,
Ward.
let's start at 6:15.
And do minutes and stuff. Get that stuff over.
No, we've
with.
done the minutes. We're all clear.
No,
Wow, you
16
guys
we
were
haven't.
busy while I was getting in from work.
We
I'm impressed.
we
said,
voted to
"Get 'em
approve
done."
all the unapproved minutes since the beginning of
Except-
time.
I am
Except-
so impressed.
We said, get them done before Emily gets here, or it'll
That's
slow
right.
us down.
Yeah.
okay,
Nice
we'll
try.
try this again. 6:15 to start, 6:30 for 131 Elliott. 7 o'clock is 88 Wharf. 7:15 would be 17 Canton Ave. And probably 7:45 would be 216 Pleasant Street.
That works.
Okay. Now, we have gotten to that point of the meeting that we all anticipate. The town planner's report.
I wasn't gonna say.
Awesome. I've been dealing with,
He's got it all written out, look at that, beautiful.
I'm dealing with the wind turbine project, trying to finalize the site plans, the notice of intent in order to get the order of conditions for the wind turbine project. East Milton parking study. We've had another business and citizen advisory committee meeting on the 18th of January. We have another one scheduled for the 12th of February. Dealing with signs, dealing with the coloring in for the amended special permit for 88 Wharf, looking back at all those different parking spots, dealing with 36 Central Ave in there.
Does
Finding
anyone,
out the meetings.
do people think that the little colored plans for 88 Wharf is something else needed?
That's a very good question.
Well, I know that's not what Ed had in mind when he,
I have a much larger one of these that has different numbers on every one of the sites, so that I have one number that is in public and the other that are private. And
well, I think what he wants is, you know, all the spaces numbered, and then identify those in each area that are committed for something. I mean, if there's some service zone only, those should be identified as service zone. If there's 2-hour parking, it should be identified as...
that's what was on the plan that we had last time that we didn't like.
Well, I
All right, but that plan, we're going to have the notes on that plan
yeah.
printed in a fancy document.
I think the intention is so that we know which, specifically what spaces are accounted for and what are available, because one thing that he noted was that there's talk of a rowing program, and that would demand some parking spaces too, and he just wants to make sure that, you know, we don't designate the same parking spaces for 3 different uses. And so I think that's part of the intention, is so that we can kind of, because there's so much demand and so different uses there, that we need to understand what spaces, who's got jurisdiction over those spaces, and what are they committed for. There's some spaces that are required to be available for the public for launching boats at, and I think there's a couple
Captain's Landing.
spaces for, you know, public access related to Chapter 91 agreement for 88 Wharf Street, or for, you know, the whole Milton Landing. So if those, you know, have to be for that purpose, we can't assign those other uses. So I think that's the intent.
If you watch the selectmen's meeting, I think I came away with that the proponents were thinking of a launching area like at Pope John Paul's Park.
Yeah, and the pots of 2, yeah.
Yeah,
they're-
and not, yeah, the
As a
other.
possibility, yeah,
Yeah.
they were looking at 2.
So there's all kinds of,
So we don't know what they're going to come in with.
And of course, this this, what they're asking at 88 Wharf would be basically a suspension of the requirement unless things changed at sometime in the
Right.
future.
I was
when
assuming
it
that
would
we could
bounce
always
back.
go back, yeah.
I mean, basically,
Review it if
the only thing
necessary.
that they're talking about really is reducing the use of the MBTA lot.
Right.
So that really doesn't affect, previous things that we've approved on the other spaces. It only is reducing their requirement on the MBTA lot, so.
So in any event, we'll do the best we can. Get those notes on that plan typed. Diane, maybe you can take charge of that.
Okay.
Put them all into something that makes eminent good sense.
Other ongoing projects, fielding lots of calls for the St. Elizabeth site. It's actually died down in the last couple of days, but I have no idea where that's going. I've helped town council with the RFP for the East Milton Library, and again with the RFP for the town farm site, and then dealing with the subdivision for 216 Pleasant. And you will have before you the definitive subdivision plan of 683, 685 Brush Hill Road, and that hearing will start February 24th. And then the 610 Harlan Street.
It will be concluded within 90 days of filing.
Really? I didn't say it, he did.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but that's all right.
We're under time restraints on that subdivision. In other words, the application starts the clock ticking. On a special permit,
Is when the public hearing is closed.
Right.
So
With the
from when he
application.
submitted it, we have to
we are,
have
that's
to
right.
take action in
Right.
90 days, and he
Exactly.
sent it in, he submitted it 2 weeks ago?
Something like that.
Something
yeah.
like that. And from the date that it's stamped, once you have the public hearing, you can ask him to stop the clock. But
If he agrees.
until you
He
have,
agrees
right,
to it,
but
right.
until you get him before you,
The clock is
gets
ticking.
ticking. Those days are gone.
Or until if he doesn't agree, it ticks away.
Right.
I'm a little concerned that he filed it. I was very surprised that he filed it,
Well,
because we had asked him to try to work with neighbors and come up with a different plan, and to use the time that the moratorium is in place,
well,
but,
the moratorium is fast coming to,
yeah, I don't know when it ends. It's a 6-month moratorium. It's got 3 more months or something to run, I
Yeah,
think.
which is pretty rapid, actually. It goes
Yeah, but
faster than
that-
we think.
time flies when you're having fun.
But that means that we would need to
It's
take
9
action
months,
on
it'll be
this.
July 1st.
July
They can
1st?
They can start in July.
So that means that we have to take action before that
Moratorium.
moratorium ends. When we had asked him to take the time of the moratorium to try to work out a different site plan, and the site plan that I saw, the definitive site plan, is the same thing he presented to us.
But I
Should
was
we have
down
him
there-
come in and just invite him in, and then when he comes
Well,
in here?
no, we're gonna
ask-
have, we'll do the hearing.
But I don't think
Because it's
you're,
already filed, we don't have any choice.
he has a PNS that doesn't rely on,
Approval of the definitive plan?
his PNS is contingent upon him getting the appropriate permits. It's not, it won't wait on the historic part of it. If he can get the permits, then he can wait.
No, I understand that.
All right, well, in any event, this is something we're going to have him available to ask. All these good questions. What else, Mr. Clark?
That's it, that's enough.
That's
All
it?
right.
Emily, why don't you make that great statement?
Let's see, what was that? Oh, yes, I moved to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.